I applied to EDP because it was recommended to me by a colleague, actually someone who was working in another company, and he had been the year before and really enjoyed it. I also thought the program looked compelling, and I'd also been able to hear Bill Aulett, who runs the program, speak at the Touring Festival here in Edinburgh. So all three of those things kind of combined, and it really seemed like a good offering, and the application process was easy, and so I applied. I had pretty high expectations on the one hand. I had pretty low expectations on the other. So traditionally, I know I may come across as a very traditional individual, but I have not liked academic environments. I did not like school. I didn't like sitting in a classroom and learning. So from that standpoint, I was a bit skeptical whether this would be the right environment for me. Low expectations on that side. High expectations, though, for the fact that it was MIT. I'd heard one of the speakers already talk previously, and I really wanted to delve into some of the issues that I'd encountered at this business and at previous companies and learn more about some things that get more detail, go deeper, learn from some of the best people in the field. So really, the low expectations were, is this going to be the right environment for me? But I still wanted to be able to learn a lot of things that would be difficult to learn in any environment, if that makes sense. My expectations were met, really exceeded drastically by EDP. I think when you look at the classroom instruction, it is truly world-class. I went to university and it was a good school, but the level of classroom instruction that was provided was really top-notch. And it was top-notch because they were spending a semester's worth, they were putting a semester's worth of information in front of you for a couple of hours. And then after class, you could go and ask more questions, you could interact during the class. It was a really dynamic, really great experience by people who really know their stuff. The top three takeaways for me personally were that education can be a useful and valuable thing, right? You come in, I came in with a certain level of arrogance and thinking I'd known everything. This is my 5th startup that I'm doing right now, but I learned a lot and realized that I don't know a lot about a lot of things. And while that can be obvious to some people, I think that for me that was a big takeaway, right? There's plenty to learn, and you always got to keep learning, and there's plenty of people that can shortcut that learning process that guys like me or girls like me would say, well, I've got to just learn it through my own experience. Okay, you can go to a program and simulate a lot of that experience and improve in those areas. So that was kind of takeaway number one. Takeaway number two from the EDP program for me was that while I have a lot to learn, I already know a lot about a lot of things, maybe more in some areas than I would have thought. And you can build on that and just tweak a few little things here and there and really get some big improvements and big results. So that's probably the second takeaway. The third takeaway for me was that we've got a lot going for us here in Scotland. I've always been a big believer of that, but when you're there, you're in one of the top ecosystems of the world, you're at one of the top universities of the world, and yeah, it does feel like things are bigger and faster maybe in that ecosystem, but comparatively to an ecosystems that we have in Scotland, particularly here in Edinburgh, it's not light years beyond. There's something here that we can build on, that we can take forward, and we can really work to improve, and that was the third thing. So yeah, you're welcome to the NBA, right? But the league that we're playing in here is comparative in many ways and could be elevated. There's a lot of thoughts that you get when you come back from a program that's as intensive as EDP. And I think the interesting thing for me is it's an experience that as you read back through notes, I mean, I've got 15, 20 pages of notes that I took over the week. As you read back over the experiences, you learn things anew. As you check out the books that were mentioned during the lectures and you start reading them, you're going to learn more. As you find yourself kind of meandering into topics where things that you learned are suddenly applicable, that's something that continues. I just think it's one of those experiences that continues to age well. I think the networking, both in the States and the people you meet in the program, but also back here in Scotland, is hugely valuable, and it just keeps providing a basis that you can expand on, and a foundation that can grow. So I think in many ways a program like EDP is the start for saying to yourself, what's next, right? What's next in my business? What's next in my personal development? What's next in my life and my career, and so on? And I think that's the hallmark of a worthwhile educational endeavor. You know, how can we inspire people to be more? This was inspiring for me, and I'm not an individual that's easily impressed. So I think that's a tall bar that they vaulted with room to spare.